Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the podcast. I'm Robbie.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to the table. Spooked there for a second. I was like, I say something after welcome into this podcast. What do I say?
Totally blank.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I had a really good day. We were talking about it beforehand, but I in our other life, we do the live putting stream, and I won the putting stream today, which was exciting. And even without the special bonus I got, I would have finished second. So I had a very good day of putting, and I haven't had a really good day of putting for a while. So it was a good day. But then I messed up. The more backside information for any foundation fans who listen to this. So we do a text deal, right? You know, we didn't talk about this. We do a text deal every week. And I put the wrong price in the text deal that went out today for our text deal. Now, if if they respond with the order, they're charged the correct price. So they're actually, in their mind, they're getting a deal because they got a text that said for $19, get this, but it's really $16 plus $5 shipping. But as soon as it went out, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so bad. But thankfully we have a limited number. And so I think we probably will still sell out. It's a die deal where we have some die packs and we're just sending that out anyway. So it was a good day and then a bad day at the same time, but I'm back talking Bards. So of course I'm going to finish it sky high.
I love it. I love it. I just remember being up there with you. Being up there with you on a drop of a like this type moment. And then we were playing a game. We were at the table. Elizabeth, me and you were at the table. And me and Elizabeth are just chatting, and you're honed in, like you're locked in on the computer. And I remember I was like, Elizabeth, is he okay? And you were like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just really focusing so that way I don't mess up this.
Yeah. So, for sure.
The pressure's real, guys. When you're alerting thousands of people about something.
Yeah, the text goes out to a few thousand people, and they don't know it was wrong.
It's important.
But when they see the bill, I'm like, oh wow, they just gave me a $3 discount. Awesome.
So that's where you can just own it and be like, yeah, Jason gave you a $3 discount. I hope you know that. Fantastic. Well, guys, excited for today's episode. It's going to be a game that we have talked about a lot. It is probably my most stated game I've been playing lately. And I think it's going to be, we kind of like adjusted the discussion points a little bit for it. So I think it's going to be a great episode. But Jason, speaking of games we've been playing lately, what have you been playing lately? Whoop. Maybe we had a little bit of a pause there. But Jason, or do we got you back? There we go.
Yeah, I'm back.
What you been playing lately, sir?
Of course, I'm always on BGA. I say that every single week. I'm a ton of BGA. Did I say that 2 weeks ago, did I say that I got to like top 10 in the world in River Valley Glassworks? Okay. So I got top 10 in the world, River Valley Glassworks. I still played a ton, but I'm only in the 40s now. But it still feels good because I'm beating top 10 guys because I pay attention to it. So every once in a while when I beat a top 10 guy, I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. But so the two games I'm going to mention is one that actually Chris mentioned this when Chris, you was here. It was Roman a Day. I don't think I talked about this last time. Did I talk about Roman a Day? I don't think so. Okay, cool.
No, we talked about Roman a Day on the Discord because Ryan bought it.
Yeah. Okay,
I think that's where we've in our shared circles.
Yeah. So when Chris Shee was on the podcast, he mentioned Roman a Day, not as one of his. When I talked about how I like I Split You Choose, he said, "Oh, Jason, you like Roman a Day." And so I went and watched the review of the Dice Tower and knew I'd like it, found a really good deal. So the gist of, and you saw this in the Discord, the gist of Roman a Day, it's an I Split You Choose tile laying game. So it's more like a la Carcassonne in that you're putting out tiles that you're going to score at the end, but you get 5 tiles you put behind a player screen, and then you choose how you mix the tiles up. You can do 1 and 4, or 2 and 3, or 0 and 5. And then everybody's ready to reveal, and then you're just gonna take turns, but on one time I'm gonna take one of those 2 sets from the player on my left, and the player to my right is gonna take one of my 2 sets of tiles. So you're gonna get something every single time, and then based on how you lay those tiles out will be the scoring, because there are some buildings that come out randomly and some gems. But the gist of it is I'm splitting the tiles in front of me, and I know who's taking them each turn, because on this turn you may be taking from me because you're seeing to my right, but the next turn the player to my left is taken from me. So there's 4 rounds in the game. So twice in the game you would take from your right, and twice in the game you take from your left. Super short game. Like, it is the definition of a filler, even though it's got a lot of relative crunchiness for a filler. But I realized I love I Split You Choose. Every time I play an I Split You Choose, I just love that the fun of choosing what that is, right? And it's really basic because you're not paying money for it. It's just I either get those 2 tiles or those 3 tiles or that 1 tile based on how they've set aside. 5 different colors, I think. And once you get your tiles, you lay them out. And at the end of the game, you score based on colors of buildings touching tiles that match that color. Roman Day is great. If you guys haven't, if you follow the Facebook world of board games, you'll realize Barnes and Nobles have got a bunch of clearance going on right now. Robbie mentioned in his Discord that one of the guys, mutual friends, but one of Robbie's gaming partners, Ryan, bought Roman a Day because he got a little haul from Barnes and Noble. Our Barnes and Noble had it as well, but I already owned it. So it's like $15 at most of Barnes and Nobles. It's an easy purchase. That's how it's so light and so fun. It's an easy recommend for a basic game. It's too light for us to cover at Bards because it's super light for a whole episode. But I think I'm actually going to play it tomorrow night. I'm now starting our gaming group here. So tomorrow night, it's only 2 people are coming. Hey. Nate's coming.
Come on.
And another local guy I know who's a gamer. His name's Jason as well. So Dakota can't come tomorrow night, but he's going to come to future ones. So anyway, so we're going to play Roman a Day for sure tomorrow night. And then probably Wormspan, I think, is the other game we're going to play tomorrow night. So that's Roman a Day. Go to your Barnes & Noble. Look what other games they have. My Barnes & Noble didn't have anything really great, but other Barnes & Noble had like amazing games there. Some had Planet Unknown for like $30. This is wild. It's unique from one's Barnes & Noble to the next for what you can find there. The other game I played, and I texted Robbie about this one, is one called Yokohama. Yokohama, the best way to say it's a worker placement type game in that you're following like cookie crumbs. You're putting out additional assistance player pieces on tiles, and then you're moving your main player piece through those tiles, through the tiles that have your assistants. And when you stop at a place that has an assistant, and then you take the action at that place. Very similar to Istanbul. Very, very similar to Istanbul in the way the mechanism goes, in that you end up moving through places that have your people, and then you take an action to that final spot. Now, Yokohama has way more things in it and is different in the things you do. But the principle is you're just moving around your board and seeing what I can do with those spaces. But then if you go through spaces with other people, you have to pay them lira, or not lira, you have to pay them yen. It's fun, big actions you can do those places. There's other cards you're trying to do. It's more crunchy than Istanbul. And in Istanbul, one of the downsides about Istanbul is you can see a runaway leader pretty quick in the Blaze game. Not pretty quick, but there comes a point in the game you can see there's no way I can win. Like maybe two moves out. Because in Istanbul, you may take 12 or 14 moves total. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is a lot. But you can tell in a couple of games when I played, like 2 moves out, we knew I was going to win. Like there was no changing it. The expansion fixes that. Yokohama, we've played 2 or 3 times, and I don't think we've had a single game that we felt that way, because you have private goals, you have other stuff. So even though it's Euro-ish and that you can kind of see everything, your last moves can be so big. You maybe can know, you're going to get me on the last move, but it's not your clear winner. It's not a runaway winner. It's like, yeah, it just turned out perfectly where I happen to get set up. I can get to this spot and I'll take this one and move. The last one we played, I literally, by luck of what Elizabeth had to do, it opened up a spot that I could put a worker and I'll go place it. It's very cool because you put assistance out and then you go move, and then your turns can be relatively quick. Anybody with AP can get slowed down because there's so many options, but I didn't do a great job explaining it other than saying it. Right now, if I had to make a top 10 all-time games, Yokohama would be in that top 10. That's how much I loved it. Maybe recency bias. I totally acknowledge it could be recency bias. But and Elizabeth liked it as well. I think we tied the first game, and I won the tiebreaker. And then I won the second game by a little bit, even though she was running out. The good thing about it, she was running out early. I was like, holy crap, how am I going to catch up to this? But just the game, I was able to work my way back, chunk away. And there were so many avenues to score that helped me kind of come back. Whereas Istanbul, there's a clearer path. And it's almost an economy game of I need to move here to move here to move here to move here. I love that puzzle nature of Istanbul. But Yokohama has so much more. It's an economy game of movement, but now you can take different paths to try to get those points because there's multiple avenues of points. And it without doubt, moved into if I had to do a top 10 right now, it would probably be in my top 10. I say it's pretty firm it'd be there. And it's one that probably moved to the top of the list of one to play with. On top of all the games I want to play with you when you come here, like Yokohama, I think you would really like it because it's Asian themed, but it's not like crunchy Asian themed, but it's definitely a Euro with its actions. It has this very fun, unique mechanisms for how you move around. Just really cool. And that's
awesome.
I think there's only 2 games I actually have played in person since the last time we talked. Rome Today and Yokohama.
Dude, I love it. This is it is so fun having a gaming group because we got options. Now we have our gaming group has done this thing where we have 4 of us that are showing up regularly, so we all pick a game, and then on the 5th week, the next person in the rotation is repeat. Just because for a lot of games, right, like coming back around and getting to play it again helps understand and see the strategy flesh out. Like I was thinking about how many games I've actually ever repeated at y'all's house, which is very low because we have a lot of games we're trying to get through.
Right.
And so but anyone who plays strategy games knows and has experienced that exact feeling, right? Of, oh, okay, this is how the game's going to play out. I've got a better feel for it, a better idea. So we did on our repeat week, we ended up doing Villainous again, but the 2 games that I'm going to talk about are, last night, Abby showed up, and so we had 5, and she had really wanted to take another crack at Wonderland's War, which as a big game, anytime we get 4 or 5 people willing to sit down and play it, game on. And let me tell you, so when we played, 4 of us didn't know how to play the game. Really 4.5, because I feel like you knew how to play the game, but like had to self-teach as you went through.
Yeah.
And it still took like 3.5 hours. Then we played same 5. I knew how to play. 4 others didn't know how to play. It took a long time. So this time we roll in and we're like, all right, everybody knows how to play. We randomly drew which faction you got. So that way it could not just be, okay, someone's going to repeat, but you did have an idea because you watched all the other factions do their things in the game before. And it was only a little over a month and a half. So we were all like, okay, let's do this. And it still took pretty much 3 hours. So I'm just convinced that I don't care if you know the game or not. It's a long game.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So, so far in the 3 plays that I've seen, the Mad Hatter has won 2 of the games and the Red Queen has won the other. And last night, Mad Hatter won and Red Queen was the closest to stopping the Mad Hatter. But the Mad Hatter, similarly to our game that we played, Jason, just ran away with it.
Yeah.
And I will admit that I was the Red Queen, and I thought I was doing. I was like, I laid out a strategy, I went for it, and did the thing. And then we got to the last round. And what's really fun about Wonderland's War, and I think it's worth highlighting this time, is that like there's so many aspects of the game that are chaotic. Whether it is rolling dice to get chaos shards or madness shards added to your hand, or pulling chips out of the bag. So you can have a great bag going, but if you're not pulling well, you're in trouble. So like Ryan, have to shout him out. He had Alice, and Alice has these 2 abilities that she pulls one type of blue chip, and by the end of it, he had like 4 of them in his bag, something like that. So he had a lot of chances to pull his blue chip out. If you pull it out, he gets to refresh his shield, which basically lets him get a free draw. And at the end of combat, he can sacrifice a troop and a supporter in one region and move Alice to that region.
Yeah.
So Alice, who's a big strength character, can just smash her way all through the war by being in every single fight if you pull 3s. So we get to the last round, and I'm like, okay, I know that I'm going, like, I'm prepped, and I'm like, I don't think anyone can really stop me from getting all the points that I want to get this round. There's one section that I'd really like to get, but I may not get it. We'll see. Like there was 2 wars that I was fighting for big points. And so I'm like, okay, that's my plan, but I'm worried about Ryan and I'm worried about Andrew, who is on the Mad Hatter. And Ryan goes to the first battle, and just his bag bricks. Like he just pulls terribly.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, dude, that's tough. Because it's not even like a skill thing. he had this thing where he pulled these card soldiers, Jason. When you pulled them, you can either double the strength of that soldier, or you can pull a number of supporters from an adjacent region into that region. So what he had been doing was, when a fight finished here, he was winning it, and then he would move allies to the next region, and then every time he pulled a card soldier, he would just pull them from the fight that already happened.
Yeah.
And we were like, how do we deal with them? It was crazy. So like, he's doing this thing, and unfortunately just bricks through the whole last round. And that was the game. Like, and it's not like he had that happen. Abby she bricked for like the first 2 rounds, and then had the last round, she finally shows up and like just starts drawing like crazy. It was awesome. Andrew drew fantastic all night, but I don't know that he ever rolled anything less than a 2 on the chaos shard thing.
Yeah.
So it was wild. It truly, like, there's so many elements to it. So it's just really fun. And I might have to reach out to James, because I think the Kickstarter's closed, but Ryan talked about that they did a Kickstarter that's a dual version. And you get 2 more factions for the game by doing the dual version. Like 2 more factions that you can add to the base, or like the standard game.
Yeah.
So might have to see if I can work my way around, friend of the podcast, see what we can do. So, really enjoyed it. The other one is that I was on vacation last week with my in-laws, my wife's family, and my wife's mom is really into Mahjong and loving it. And I thought that I was going to learn Mahjong, and that was going to be the game I was going to talk about this week. But my sister-in-law's new boyfriend, he learned how to play Mahjong in my place, and it's only a 4-player game. So what I have said is Sushi Go Party. So we played Sushi Go Party, and Lindsay really said that we haven't played it in a long time, and that's true. So we took it to the lake, played it. It was super fun, basic menu. And I think the biggest rush and the enjoyment of Sushi Go Party, at this point in life, I don't know that I would really ever recommend anyone buy the base game of Sushi Go.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there's so much customization that comes to Sushi Go Party. We did a whole episode on it, and it's such a fun, like, it's a great party game, very light. If you had any interest in Seven Wonders, it's a much lighter version of that. Set collection, very fun. Mahjong's a set collection game, so everyone's already in a set collection mood. Worked out. Sushi Go Party. Don't have much more to say. I mean, what can you say about Sushi Go Party?
Yeah, for sure. So, it never comes out here, but I won't ever get rid of it either, because it's an easy one to pull out to teach drafting to lighter gamers. Because Seven Wonders is really, to me, Seven Wonders is not a lot, but it really is a lot. Seven Wonders is a bunch of stuff, whereas Sushi Go, because Sushi Go Party has so many different ones you can do. You can do the really light, easy game. You can do the heavy points game. You can do the whatever, right? It's because there's so many ingredients and foods in there for Sushi Go Party to mess around with stuff. So I couldn't even tell you the last time I played Sushi Go Party, but I will never get rid of it for that very reason, because it is such a good. It's easy to say that's an essential game to have, because it's a light. It's just enough crunchiness that heavy gamers can be fine with it being a light game for the night, and light gamers and new gamers can get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this while we were playing, so I was like, okay, find joy in this, Robbie. Find joy in this. And as we were playing it, I think why it is so much simpler than Seven Wonders, or why Seven Wonders hangs people up, is because when you're drafting cards in Sushi Go, you read the card to know what it does. And it's all listed right there in front of you. Like, it tells you, chopsticks, play this card. Put back in hand, play 2 from current hand. So, like, that is a little confusing, but really not that confusing. You know that you need to collect 3 sashimi, or else you don't get any points, right? Like, that all makes sense. Whereas there's nothing on the cards when I'm passing the hand around in Seven Wonders that says, I just have to know the rule that I can't have 2 of the same building.
Yep.
There's nothing that says, like, okay, here's the advantage here's why I want this red card with swords versus I want this blue card. And because it ramps, Seven Wonders ramps, you like Sushi Go Party, nothing changes. There's just different dessert, like mixed in each round as you go through. So, or more dessert, I guess is a better way to put it. So very, very interesting. And, Sushi Go Party. It's great. But speaking of great things, Jason, do you want to tell the people about what game we've got on the docket for today?
Yep. Robbie alluded to it with being his most disgust game. Not disgusting. Disgust game.
The most
disgust is so
game
like
I've ever
disgusting
played.
game. It can be disgusting. Lorcana. We talked about it. We knew for a long time we would eventually cover it, being our first trading card game for sure. And it was easy to dive into this one. As we were texting, it was like we knew we had to do it eventually, and now is a good time because you said you kind of slow down on it, but you picked it back up a little bit lately, so it's a good time to do it. Now, full disclosure up front, Robbie will probably do most of the talking. We talked about this offline because Robbie would probably do most talking because he knows this game so well. And I have a good understanding of it because I've played it. And so I will talk about some high level things, but it'll be a lot of Robbie leading this conversation. And I even told Robbie, there's a good chance I'm going to ask questions to make sure I understand as well because I haven't played it as much and haven't played it recently. So I'll give you a quick high level overview and then we'll kind of deep dive in. Released in 2023. I didn't realize it's only 2 years ago. Like it feels like Lorcana's been around like 4 or 5 years. That's what's wild is that it feels like it's been around for 4 or 5 years because so many new factions are coming out. Is faction the right term? Is it faction?
It's sets is what you're thinking about.
So many new sets that have come out because it's a trading card game. Released in 2023, 4 different designers. I don't know any of the names, but I'll still list them. David Aizi, Ryan Miller, Tim Schilder, Steve Warner, the original designers. I don't know if they've added more over time, but this is from Board Game Geek. Published by Ravensburger, even non-gamers know Ravensburger because they make puzzles. They make so many things we've talked about on this very podcast. They're Horrified and Villainous and so many others. And they republish games from overseas. They'll publish them in North America as well. So Ravensburger is a beast. 2 to 4 players. Most things I know about is the 2-player version, but I know there's even a formal 4-player version. And there are designer-approved 6-player versions. That's like a battle royale where you can attack everybody. I don't know if you're tracking that, Robbie, but at least when I was doing some research, there is designer approved, not official, but approved 6-player variants.
Hey, here for it.
Lorcana is a trading card game that features Disney characters in both original and fun, cool, reimagined art styles that live in an all-new world with unique and magical gameplay. In this trading card game, you'll team up with beloved Disney characters, some familiar and some fantastical, as you race against opponents. How you go about achieving victory is where the fun comes in as you mix and match those characters, items, actions, locations, and songs from different Disney films and stories. Combining that gameplay, the amazing card art, and plenty of Disney magic, the game is fun to play and easy to learn. Essentially, this is a super high version. You're going to summon Disney characters. Those characters utilize actions and items to do things during that field of play. Because like a typical trading card play, there's a field of play. You're going to harness glimmers to challenge opponents or gather other artifacts during the game. And then you're going to collect lore, which is the overall scoring system. First person to 20 lore wins or knock out your opponent is a win, right? Those are the 2 winning conditions. Is that right? Or is it just 20 lore? Is it just 20 lore? It's not even knock out your opponent.
It's 20 lore, or if they cannot draw a card when they have to draw a card. So you deck out your opponent.
Yeah. So the gist of it is, and I'm going to let Robbie define a trading card game in a minute, just so he can kind of break it out for us all. But like a deck building game, you already have the deck is pre-built. You draw 5 cards. And then you're gonna use cards that become resources for money, and you're gonna activate that money to play other cards. Those cards have actions. How you win, the fun of the game, we'll go into detail, is how you combo those actions, how those cards come out. Draw, play, spend resources, activate, and you keep going until somebody has 20 lore. And that's really the super high level of it. So we're about to go deep dive, but Robbie, like I said, why don't you tell us what a trading card game really is, what that world is of collectible card games and trading card games for those who don't know.
Yeah. So what's fun is we're dropping this episode at an actually perfect time. So inside of a trading card game, you have a host of cards that are available. The reason it's a trading card game is that because there is no way from the publisher of the game to acquire the whole game. So I cannot go to Ravensburger and spend $400 and get every card. I have to acquire the cards in booster packs are most often the way that it goes about. And a booster pack is going to have 12 cards in it. Those 12 cards are going to be 6 common cards, those common rarities that are easier to find. There's going to be 3 uncommons. And then the last 3 cards are going to be either rare, super rare, legendary, or it will be a holographic version of any rarity. So 2 of the cards will be rare, super rare, legendary. And the new set that drops actually the day after this episode airs is called Set 9. It's Fabled. They're introducing 2 more rarities.
Oh, wow.
Sort of sandwich the Enchanted. So there will be the Epic rarity that has, and when these rarities exist for inside of Lorcana, once you get to Enchanted and Iconic, those are the same card that's represented elsewhere inside of the other rarities, but it's just an alternative art style, which makes it look a little prettier, a little fancy, a lot of shiny cardboard. That is a phrase you'll hear often in trading card games. But the reason it's a trading card game is that because the heart of it is that you're going to be collecting cards, and then as you want certain cards to play in certain decks, you trade other folks. I have like a whole Lorcana community here in Birmingham, and pretty much when we all get to set, we all like to play different types of decks, and so we kind of throw out a wish list to everyone of, I'm looking for the Lilos. Okay, I'm looking for Tianas. And so we all know, okay, awesome. Like there was a card that I wanted at the beginning of the last set that came out that it seemed like no one else in Birmingham wanted. So I was like, anyone that pulls a foil copy, because it's a 1 out of the entire set that singular card in your pack is going to be foil. I was like, I'm looking for multiple copies of this. So if you guys find them, let me know. I want the shiny one. And it was from Lilo and Stitch. It was called Beyond the Horizon, because they'll take songs and take snippets out of the song to make the same song could create 7 different cards that do 7 different things. So they really lean into the Disney theming. But that's the trading card game aspect is, once again, unlike every other game that we've published where we're like, hey, you can go on Amazon and it's expensive because it's $50. For you to buy a deck, a starter deck, I'll go ahead and kind of jump all the way down there to that bit. It's $20. It's going to be $16 usually at most places. Some of them will be 20 on release, but that deck is going to come ready to play. It's going to have 60 cards in it, and it's going to be a combination of 2 ink colors, which is where in a la Magic the Gathering, you'll hear a lot of people talk about their Magic decks. And one thing that I didn't even realize is that the combination, Jason, of the colors in Magic, they call them clans.
Okay.
And all of those clans have like their own family name. So like you have, what is it? Dimir is blue and black combined. Okay. And so if you're like, oh, I'm playing a Dimir deck, they know. Rakdos, I think, is like red and black. But obviously black is in both of those, but the name doesn't connect to them at all. So inside of Lorcana, we have 6 inks, and the inks are all named after precious. 5 of them are named after gems, and then you just have steel, which is in there. But they are yellow, purple, green, red, blue, and gray. Those are your colors that are represented, and those are represented by amber is yellow, amethyst is purple, emerald is green, ruby is red, sapphire is blue, steel is gray. We'll kind of talk about what those mean, because each ink color has an identity, but your deck is going to combine 2 of those ink colors together, which means that from the available card pool and the entire trading card game, you are allowed to play any card from those 2, and you can play up to 4 copies of that singular card to build your 60 card deck. So you could only have 15 different cards, but you have 4 copies of each. And that is a deck that you build. There are some really competitive players, and that is how they build all of their decks. They only build 4 ofs in every deck they build. There's strategies to it, drawbacks, things like that. But going to the setup and teach, Jason, you're the one that actually introduced me to Lorcana. And here we are years later. So talk about the setup and teach when you first discovered Lorcana. You went and bought the cards. Walk us through that.
Yep, for sure. The good thing is the setup, as long as you already have them pre-separated, is easy. Because Robbie talked about you can only play, you're playing based on the color of your card, essentially, right? And as long as you have those decks, you're good to go. And like that starter set will have 2 of those. You're playing one, the other one's playing the other, and you're good to go. So that, as long as you have your colors separated and you have the right number of cards and following the rules. But if you buy a starter set, it's already set that way. Now, if you get into the collectible side, the trading card side, that's when you have to start make sure you're managing it correctly. But the setup is super easy. The teach for people who have never played any games, the teach can be a little much because they're not used to the concept of what you're doing. But like I said in the overview, for those who played any sort of hand management game that are board game related, it makes sense because most hand manager games, they've done the math that we have 5 cards. It's not 4, it's not 6, it's 5, right? And Lorcana is 5 as well. Is that right?
7.
Oh, there you go. They've done the math. So 7. Is Magic 7 as well, or is Magic 5?
Magic is 7.
Well, there you go. So in the trading
there are some trading card games that are 5. But we did talk about deck builders mostly do 5.
Yeah, that shows my lack of pure experience in there. But you have, so the teach for Lorcana is definitely easier than some of the other ones because there's not as many pure actions you can do. And the teach is easier to, what's harder for me, what was harder to conceptualize to people is a very basic action. And then we'll talk a little tactical side of it, but there are a lot of keywords on cards that basically tell you the action, whether it's a song, whatever that may be, whether it's a song or whether it's, what is this? Singer.
Song, action, item.
Singer. So I'm looking at the cards. Yeah. So learning keywords is always a challenging thing for the trading card game life. So, but when you kind of get through that, it's not too bad. But a unique thing that was hard to conceptualize is how you get resources. Because essentially certain cards, you can choose to turn over 1 per turn to become now your full-time resource the rest of the game. So you have your card. Robbie's holding up the front of the card, which is if you play that, you're playing that card for the action, but you also for the rest of the game can turn it over and make it now essentially a resource to pay for actions other times in the game. And that was such a unique thing that we're not used to that. We're used to, if you've played Magic, you usually pulling your land and pulling your mana and trying to get that out there. But now I have more agency over that. So the teach for that was me and Elizabeth at first. And whenever you learn new games, it takes a little bit of time because Elizabeth hadn't played Magic before. But I'm rambling in a way that's not helpful. But other than saying that Lorcana is not as hard, it's not as intimidating, and it was designed that way when compared to Magic, because Magic has so many keywords that even when me, you, and Xander played, I'm like, you guys have to explain to me what this means. Whereas most of the stuff for the original cards for Lorcana were fairly black and white. Only a couple things were kind of questionable that you had to kind of figure out what the keyword is and how the things work together. But to me, most of the cards were for folks who played games and can read a card and understand that. It wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah. And one thing that I really appreciate about Lorcana is that some of the cards end up very clogged because most of the keywords on Lorcana cards are explained on the card as well. So, for instance, if a card has singer, songs are actions that can be either paid for with your ink. When Jason was talking about creating those resources, I'll show those 2 cards again. On each card in the upper left-hand corner is the cost of what it takes to play the card. So I have here Cursed Merfolk from the Little Mermaid franchise, and then I have Kida from Atlantis. A really fun thing about like the Disney side of things is that they have so many of the franchises represented. So you can build, people try to build theme decks that are just Atlantis themed, things like that. And if you're having fun with it, you're not trying to play in tournaments and do competitive, that is one of the best aspects to me of Disney Lorcana is how you can create those tribal vibes. But on those 2 cards, one of them has like a really fancy circle around the cost. One does not. If it has the fancy circle, that means it is inkable. So instead of playing the card once per turn, you can play it face down to create colorless ink. And that colorless ink, the reason that matters is because Jason used the term glimmers. That's what we call characters who are played to the board. They're glimmers. So you're using your ink to basically create the character on the board. And once it's created, it has to dry for a turn. So that means it has summoning sickness. It can't go anywhere, things like that. So even how they built the game is very thematic. And when you process it that way, the hardest thing that I have when I teach people how to play this game is that I look at a card like Kita, who costs 4 and she's inkable. If I ink Kita, this does not count as 4 ink. Every single time that I teach people this game, we get hung up on that exact piece, as they're like, oh, well, I have this really expensive card that I'm not going to be able to play for a while. So I'll go ahead and just ink this 4-cost card, and then I'll turn it and use it to play another 4-cost card. It's like, nope. Any card that you ink is not, you won't get it back for the rest of the game. And it is just 1 ink that can be used, and you can ink once per turn. So you're going to see that you sort of have this curve as you go through the game. Lot of details involved in that, but that's the basic gist. So when you're choosing your colors, how do you choose your colors? How do you choose what you want to play? And like Jason mentioned, there are keywords that are across all of the colors. There are some keywords that are in every color, and there are some keywords that at this point in Lorcana are restricted to certain colors. So you have amber, yellow. Amber is supportive in nature and often includes things like healers and bodyguards. They have characters that are trying to support. There are Disney princesses across all of the colors, but a lot of the princesses have some representation inside of Amber because they are here to support and help. So the example I have here is Tiana, the restaurant owner. Tiana, whenever a character of yours is, so basically when Tiana's on the board, she makes it so it's harder to challenge the characters on your board. It costs ink in order for people to challenge. If they don't pay the ink, then they lose strength when challenging. So she creates like a wall, essentially, that is really hard to get through. In amethyst or purple, it's magicians and sorcerers using magic to warp the board. In lots of instances, it is the best draw color in the game. So a lot of people gravitate towards purple as one of their primary colors because there are a lot of cards that replace themselves. When this card is banished or it goes to the graveyard or the discard, draw a card from the top of your deck. Things like that. But they use abilities like there's Belle, the accomplished mystic. When you play her, you can move damage, 3 damage, from one character to another. So you can swing one of your characters in to do damage and take out one of your opponent's characters. Well, now it has this damage that could make it more vulnerable later on in the game. Well, when you play Belle, because she's this amethyst sorcerer, she moves that damage onto another character. So you can do these really powerful trades and bouncing things around. Amethyst draws a lot of cards and does some really fun, like board warping tricks. Emerald is the tricksters, green. They're jacks of all trades, truly masters of none. There's really one thing that Emerald has done well since the beginning, and it's discard. They have a lot of effects that make you lose cards, your opponents lose cards from their hands. But a lot of the effects that exist in other colors, Emerald has as well. So lots of times when you find a really powerful primary color, Emerald can come alongside it and really accent what that color is trying to do in an even more fun way. So I look at like Basil, the undercover detective, who has an ability whenever he quests, which is when you turn him sideways to gain lore, moving you closer to that 20, chosen opponent discards a card at random. So you just pluck a card from their hand every time he quests, which means I'm getting 2 lore, moving me closer to my end goal. He's going to make you discard cards. Ruby red is a removal color. Most often it's conditional removal, such as banish a character who has 2 strength or less. So this doesn't work on the big, huge beast that they play or the Gaston that they're playing that's staring me down and I'm worried about it. But it does get rid of Little Mushu sometimes. Another really fun thing is that there's a lot of thematics in, if you love Disney, the big characters are big and the small characters are small. Cricky from Mulan is a card in the game, and it's small. It does a thing, right? Sapphire is the ramp color, and ramp means that you're going to accelerate your game faster. It allows you to progress through the early games at the cost of not having as strong of a board presence. So a card like Sail the Azurite Sea is an action that lets you draw a card, and then you can ink again on your turn. So normally you can only ink once, but if you play Sail the Azurite Sea, you get to ink twice that turn. So you skip your turn 3, because at the start of your turn 3, you can play an ink and you now have 4 ink to use while your opponent has 3. This allows you to get to more powerful cards faster. And then last but not least, steel is the other removal color, and it is damage-based removal. And that means, so ruby, if you meet the right condition, it just straight up gets rid of the card. Steel, on the other hand, is going to deal damage to characters, such as from Mulan, Strength of a Raging Fire is a great removal song from the We Are Men, We Must Be Swift as a Horse. Yeah, so Strength of the Raging Fire deals 1 damage for each character that you have inside of your board. So if you have a lot of characters, you can ping and do damage. The big counter to steel is resist, which is also basically only found currently inside of steel. So what's really funny is that like steel as a color counters itself, which when you're building decks kind of shines. So that's a really big overview of the colors, but hopefully kind of tweak some interest in, like, I do like that jack of all trades. Emerald's a fun color to mess around with. Oh, I like the idea of the magicians moving things around and doing wacky things. Like amethyst could be your color. I like to just draw cards to do stuff. If I were to pick a deck for Jason, I think purple would be one of his primary colors, because it just draws a lot of cards and creates a lot of options. And I think that Jason can combo things well enough that he would really be able to make purple shine. Jason, we'll talk about the theming, though, as we kind of been alluding to it this whole time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to step back and say I appreciate that. 2 things. One is, I meant to say this earlier, your definition of a trading card game is, for those who understand it, makes perfect sense. And I'm jumping back a little bit earlier, that the gist of I could go buy Agricola and buy everything for Agricola right now and own everything. But in a trading card game, the collectible card game world, that's the whole premise of it, is you can't go buy everything from the manufacturer. You create this community of working with other folks. And even though I knew that's what it was, the summary of that was great. So I truly appreciate that, because that's exactly how I would define it for the rest of the time when I talk to other folks, because it's hard to, I can never conceptualize it that well, but how clean that conceptualization was for gamers makes great sense. And I appreciate that summary too, because I've heard you talk enough about the different colors, and that's a, you know, to step back, the accessibility to the game, that can be the challenging thing, right? For sure, is not knowing those things. The internet's an amazing thing. So everything Robbie just said, I'm sure there's a ton of sites that will tell you that summary, and even have recommendations for, if you want a really fun deck, do this. So you may not have the resource that's Robbie sitting in your local gaming group, but the internet will have that resource. So if you think about, like me, I love drawing cards and playing cards, drawing cards and playing cards, drawing cards and playing cards. Well, clearly the purple deck, like Robbie said, is for me, because I know even if I lose, I'll get enjoyment because that's an action I want to do. So having that summary is good. Like that kind of clean summary is a good thing, even though there's a lot more nuance to it. I appreciate the fact that summary is there and it's available within that world. But I appreciate that, brother. What I put in our notes here is the theme is absolutely there. Robbie's talked about it. There are so many cards he could off the top of his head reference how this card in the song, you could think about the movie, but in the movie, this character's doing this, but in reality, on our game board, they're doing the exact same thing. So the theme of the game is spot on. If you don't like Disney, you shouldn't play Lorcana. Well, I don't want to say you shouldn't play Lorcana. You may not get as enjoyment as much somebody who is appreciative of Disney or loves Disney the way Robbie and I do, and so many other Lorcana fans do. So I won't say you shouldn't play if you don't like Lorcana, if you don't like Disney, but if you like Disney, you're going to get so much more enjoyment out of it. Villainous is that perfect example, right? My rating of Villainous is not particularly high, but because of the art, because of the thematics of Villainous, Star Wars and Marvel, I love playing it because I get to feel like I'm part of that. And if nothing else, it's that memories of what those movies are. Even here, I had my cards here. Mother knows best, right? I mean, just the different characters that I know so well, the actions they take on there just make sense for what that is. So the theme is spot on, and it's not purely pasted on because the action of those cards matches what that character or that song or that action would do, that item would do in those things. So not thematic the way a big tabletop board game with me when you're moving minis on, but you can definitely see the actions of those cards be spot on to what that character is within the Disney universe. So they hit a grand slam on that. There's no doubt. I haven't heard anybody talk about that. Even I've heard you've talked about, and other folks, even as they expand all these new sets, they continue to hit home runs because it still matches what they're trying to do with accurately representing what those characters are within their TV show or video game or movie. Like it's spot on. So I appreciate that for sure with the Lorcana thing. And if they'd released Lorcana gameplay the same but some other world, it maybe wouldn't hit to me. Like this is honest, like a Marvel world sounds interesting, but it wouldn't pull me in the same way a Disney world would pull me in. And when they originally came out with Lorcana, we've talked about this on the podcast, it was meant to be, hey, this is for the casual gamer. It can be for a casual gamer. It can be for the family folks who just want to learn the trading card game world because it is easier to play, but still do it with Disney. That theme is, to me, a massive selling point for what makes Lorcana so, accessible within the gaming community.
Yeah, it's like Jason's nailed. So set 9 that comes out the day after this podcast comes out, the biggest franchise that they are tapping into is the Goofy movie franchise. Hasn't existed for 8 sets, and everyone's been asking. They're like, "Where's Powerline? Where's you have singers and songs? Yes. Where's Powerline?" So who is on the cover of Fabled? It's Powerline. We're getting Max Goof. We're getting Goofy family. The family fishing rod is an item that you can use, and when you use it, you tap it, pay 1 ink, and you get to pull a character off of the board back to your hand. Because instead of going off the edge of the waterfall, the family fishing rod, perfect cast, pulls you back up. Like the thematics are just fantastic as it goes through. Ursula, they have a new card in the new set that's Ursula, like theft, like thief or something like that. And when you play her, you get to turn a character on your opponent's board sideways and sing a song that they could sing because you're stealing their voice to sing your song. Like there's just so many cards that dial in. Be prepared. What is Scar trying to do in Be Prepared? He's trying to overthrow and get rid of Mufasa and his kingdom. What does Be Prepared do? It clears the whole board. It's really, really well thought.
Yeah, I had to go look up, just for the heck of it, I had to go look up Standout, right? Powerline, Standout. I had to go look over that card. So that card, when played, the song gives you a chosen character plus 3 strength. I mean, come on, that song is the epic song. An evasive ability until the start of your next turn, right? Because even in the movie, he's literally swinging around the stage, and that's actually the card is Max swinging around. I mean, like it's spot on for Disney fans for sure, and you're gonna get so much more enjoyable, so much more happiness.
It's also a card.
Oh my gosh, that's like I want to buy it just to play that, just to be able to play Standout and sing it while I play it, right? I mean, we're of course hardcore Disney fans. I have my Powerline. I have 2 different Powerline T-shirts upstairs. So
this deck box is green steel or emerald steel, which we can talk about that for a second on the ink colors because Jason and I were talking about it before. But there's not 60 cards in here because this deck is built ready for set 9, and I'm buying my booster box, and I need 4 copies to stand out that are going straight into this deck. It's ready to go. So
that's awesome.
It's awesome. But yeah, so I say green steel. Another fun thing when you're trying to look up decks and things like that is that the vernacular around the colors is a little silly. And I'm going to call out the Lorcana community for this. So emerald steel or green silver, green gray is the color pair that I have played the most. I've been playing it since set 5. We're on set 9. So over a year I've been playing this color combo. And, but when people refer to the deck, very few people call it emerald steel. Most people just call it green steel. But you have amber steel. People do just call amber steel. Like nobody calls it yellow steel. And so the color combinations are super interesting. Like ruby sapphire is red blue. Very rarely are you going to sit down across from someone and they'll be like, "Oh, what deck are you playing?" "Oh, I'm playing red blue." They're going to be like, "Oh, I'm playing ruby sapphire." So as you start researching decks and ideas, if you're interested in this, just be aware that we misunderstand ourselves. Everyone gets it, but like if I look, I never would say, oh, like I have a green steel die disc in my disc golf bag, and I literally call it my green steel disc. I do not call it emerald steel. But I know that if someone said emerald steel, I would catch me a second and I would go, oh yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. So it's a funny little thing. So game length, Jason, you've played with the starter decks and being newer. Do you remember like kind of how long games were taking?
I would say, so when we played, because we were still learning games, it was when Elizabeth and I played, it was probably the first night we played. I think the first game we played, because we don't know the cards that well, was like maybe 25 to 35 minutes, because we were just kind of rushing through whatever came through without deeper strategy and just kind of playing the cards as they came up. And so, but I think just from talking to you, I know that this can be, I know, full disclosure, this could be a great thing or a frustrating thing about it, right? I know you, in one of our, either on the podcast or when I talked, you played in one of your tournaments and a guy just hit it fast and you knew you were going to lose really quick, right? Now, this is the hardcore, deep, strategic tournament guys who've set those decks that are perfect. And when they come out fast, you know it's going to go fast, right? So the note I put in here for me and Robbie, and he will confirm this, is that the game length varies. That's not a bad thing for sure, because if you have that perfect deck that runs through fast, it's fun to get that quick win, but it's so fast. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Let's play again, right? Or you could have a longer game where you're just, oh wow, you just took out my guy, but I'm doing this, and your cards are just coming, and it's this push and pull, like the tug of war on who's going to finally pull those 20 lore, who's going to get that thing off the board. So I think the game length varies. They don't even list the game length for what it's worth. Ravensburger doesn't even list a game length for it because they don't want to limit your thought on what it could be. It could be a 20-minute game that's really fast, maybe shorter if they fly through the deck. It could be a 40-minute game that you thought was awesome because you got to do so many fun things. And that could be intimidating to some people, but even for me, I'm like, I love the idea. If it's a quick game, I just play again real quick and maybe the second game would be better. But if it's a longer game, hey, I got a lot out of that.
Yeah. So I played in a tournament a couple weeks ago and made it to the finals. And in the last round of kind of the round robin phase before going to the like playoffs of the tournament, I sit down and I have my matchup. Second to last round, I have my matchup and I look to my right and my friend Brian is playing, and he's playing against a deck that is puppies. It's 101 Dalmatians and it's just puppies everywhere. But the puppies are an aggro deck, an aggressive deck that just wants to turn cards sideways to gain lore, and they want to go quick. They want to win fast. And so me and my opponent, in a tournament round, you have 50 minutes to play a best of 3. So realistically, you should be able to get a game every 15-ish minutes, is the pace that they want you to go. But certain decks prolong that, and certain decks, like aggro decks, want to win by turn 4 or 5. And so I look over and I realize what my friend Brian is playing into. And I was like, oh, so what are you going to do with all your free time at the end of this round as my opponent is taking their turn? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, you don't know what you're playing against yet, do you? And he was like, no, should I know what I'm playing against? And I was like, well, do you know if you're winning or losing fast? They did their entire best of 3 in about 12 minutes.
Holy crap.
Like it was just bank because that person's deck just went so fast. Yeah. I ended up in the final round playing against Brian, and we literally came down to, we had about 30 seconds left of the 50 minutes for our best of 3. So he played the exact same deck, but because I wasn't playing that style of deck, it made the game go a little longer. Or I played a deck once that the whole win condition was I was going to get 20 items on the board and then play Tamatoa from Moana, and Tamatoa gains lore for each item that you have on the board. So I just play Tamatoa, win in one shot, bang. So that is the game length really can vary back and forth there. But I want to talk strategy real fast, and then when we go to the replayability, I think that's where the most interesting part of the discussion comes through, is where I kind of want to like hedge this thing is. So in strategy, when you're playing this game, basic card game principles apply. Basic trading card game principles definitely apply. The one thing about Lorcana, and Jason mentioned it, is that they wanted it to be a game that was friendly for a lot of people. So a lot of people will call it a baby trading card game. because there is no interaction on each other's turns. So if Jason decides, hey, I'm going to play Powerline, and Powerline is going to sing Stand Out, he's going to pull his phone out and he's going to play Stand Out at the exact same time. We're going to have a moment of this joy. I cannot, on my turn, say, nope, and play a card that stops him from doing that. So you, on your turn, get to do everything that you have the resources to do. Like, if you have the ink to pay for it, you have the cards to play, you can do it. And there is nothing your opponent can do about it. That's really great for a lot of people because it allows you to sort of single-player solitaire vibe of, okay, I know what they're going to do, or I can read the board state, read my hand, and know what's happening. Unlike Magic, where I can play a card, and when I play a card, oh man, I spent all of my mana I tapped everything to play this big card, and my opponent for 2 mana said, nope, counterspell.
Yeah.
Oh, so my turns just does nothing. Cool. Back to you then, I guess. And then my opponent now, because I have everything tapped, my opponent does a billion things and I lose. That can be a really frustrating experience for some people. For some people, they love having the interaction to be able to stop them, because sometimes in Lorcana, you see it coming and you can do nothing about it. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to get my whole board annihilated. Tough. I guess we're going to the next one. So for some people, yeah, there's pros and cons to it, but that aspect of not being able to stop the opponent, I guess, is probably the best. No interaction is the better way to put it, in each other's turns. Yeah. So drawing cards, always good. Anytime you can draw cards in a game that has a deck, draw cards. Do the thing. That's a strategy. If you're looking at cards and the cards draw cards, it's probably a good card. One of the first things that my friend Garrett told me when I got into Lorcana is he was like, Robbie, if there's ever a legendary card that says draw a card on it, buy 4 copies as soon as you can, because that price is probably going to go up. So it is cards. Yeah. Cards that do stuff when it enters the board, fantastic. If they don't, they have to have a big enough impact on the next turn in order to basically demand removal be played on it, or else it's not that impactful. So I mentioned Tiana earlier. Tiana is a 3-cost card, so you can play her pretty early on in the game. She has 1 strength and 4 willpower. She has that ability whenever your character of yours is challenged, the challenging character gets -3 strength unless that player pays 3 ink.
Dang.
And she's played on turn 3. So basically, if they want to challenge, they have to spend their whole turn just to challenge. That's crazy. The problem is Tiana has to be exerted in order for that ability to hit. So when she enters the board, she actually does nothing because she has to dry the turn that she enters the board. And because she only has 1 strength, for a while, she couldn't be played because the meta or like the overall competitive scene just wasn't right for her. In set 9, they're rotating. So in the competitive scene, 4 of the sets no longer matter. They're illegal. All those cards are gone. In the competitive scene, which is the negative side of trading card games, and we can talk about that if we want, but I don't think it's that necessary because I really want to focus on the casual side here for people. But Tiana, she's starting to see play again. Overnight, Tiana went from about a $3 or $4 card to a $25 card simply because the meta shifted and people were like, oh, she's going to have the opportunity to stay upright. Mufasa, ruler of Pride Rock, when he enters the board, whenever he quests, you can ready all of your ink again. So you basically can get 2 turns every time Mufasa quests. And he quests for 4. You only need 20 to win. So he's a big body that immediately demands answers. And he's in blue. He's in sapphire. So you're already ramping to those big cards. You play Mufasa. But it's hard because he doesn't do anything. Whereas like Basil that I mentioned earlier that makes you discard when he quests, he also has an ability that when you play this character, you may return chosen character to that player's hand. So he has an enter the board effect, but he also has an effect when he's on the board. That's really impactful. So Those are the kind of cards you're looking for. Card advantage is something, just advantage. You can have 3 types of advantage, which is basically card advantage. Do I have more cards than my opponent? Ink advantage. Do I have more ink available than my opponent? And board advantage, looking at the boards that we both have in front of us. Do I have more bodies on the board? Do I have better bodies on the board than my opponent? And you want to use your advantages, use some combo of those 3 in order to beat your opponent. The green steel deck that I referred to that I loved was all about card advantage. I made my opponents discard all of their cards, and then once they had no cards in hand, I just started playing bodies to the board and then turning them sideways, and I would win in 3 or 4 turns, but it wouldn't be until turn 5 or 6 that I would start actually gaining lore, things like that. And then that brings us to the triangle. So you decide which playstyle you really want, which is aggro, which is that aggressive turning things sideways. Mid-range, which sort of isn't aggro, has a little more controlling removal type aspects to it, has some strategies that it wants to implement on your board and your opponent's board versus just playing these questers that want to turn sideways quick, these cheap questers. And the control is that sapphire ramping to big bodies that hit hard and do big things. So Blurple, blue purple, is probably the best control deck in the game right now because it draws cards off of purple, but it also has the blue, the sapphire, to let it ramp to those big cards. And when it gets to the big end, it has Elsa from Frozen. She slams in and just does some crazy stuff. And then Hades from Hercules just straight up removes characters from your opponent's board. Crazy stuff. So all of that to say, that's basic strategy. It all adapts to the deck you're playing. And I would encourage, there's a website called dreamborn.inc. Dreamborn.inc is a great website for looking up deck lists and things like that. So Jason, coming around to the replayability side of things, obviously we know that a trading card game has a ton of replayability because you could swap out 5 cards in your deck for another 5 cards and suddenly your deck plays, it feels like entirely different, right? So we get that. What I want to focus on is, why would someone choose a trading card game over a board game?
Great question.
Why like gut reaction?
Yeah.
What?
So the reason why, because they like everything because during that 5 minutes you just broke out the strategy, they loved every single bit of that discussion. I love the fact that I could build a deck. I have agency over possibilities, right? There's still possibilities. The cards still got to come out, but I have agency as I create the deck. And I know the magic world, the collectible card world, people love that because I want to craft this really awesome deck that goes fast, that attacks fast, that removes fast. They love that nuance of working out all the specifics of what the cards do. Doing the fun of hunting down those cards that you want at a reasonable thing, doing the trading part of that. That's if you want to do that level of strategy, if that gets you excitement, the geeky, and I mean that in the best way possible, the geekiness of saying, I need these 4 cards to do this, these 4 cards that will combo in this, and these 4 cards do this for my 60 card deck. If that excites you and everything Robbie just said appealed to you, that's why you may choose that. Now I'm going to go ahead and say right there, I zoned out for half of what you said. I'd say that jokingly, because that doesn't, don't let this taint this episode. That doesn't appeal to me in any way. And Robbie and I have talked about this. That level of building and hunting for and building that deck, I just don't get pleasure out of that. I don't get enjoyment of trying to put together those decks. Now, Robbie knows this when we did Magic. If you give me a deck to play, I'm going to love it. I'm going to have an awesome time playing it. But the hunt, the action, the task for putting it together does not appeal to me, even in the smallest little bit. I don't want to hunt things down. But some people, that is part of the thing. I'm going to pivot for a second. In Warhammer and the world of miniatures, painting your miniatures can be just as exciting as playing the games for so many people. Jamie Stegmaier, and so that's the reason people love that. Jamie Stegmaier, he still does when new sets of Magic cards comes out, they'll do a draft because he likes building the deck. They only do like a few games after that, but he really loves open up the blister packs and drafting cards and building that deck, and he just gets enjoyment out of trying to put together that really cool deck out of a real-time draft in a booster pack pool and seeing what they can do, right? And I can see, I've taught you so much about it, and I know you love it, or you're very passionate because you know it so well, and it shows you're passionate about it. But to me, I don't even get halfway. I don't even get a little bit excited about the thought of putting that together, right? I could sit and play heavy Euro for 4 hours and love every second of it. But I couldn't spend 30 minutes trying to put together a deck because it just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't want that to taint anyone's. I don't want that to discourage anybody from doing this. But if Robbie's discussion on strategy about how those different things and the things you got to think about appeal to you and you like the excitement of that, then a trading card game is spot on for you. In Robbie's Discord, we have discussions about that, and Nate and so many guys talk about it. I'm like, I know, I love to say this. I know why other people like it, but it is not for me at all, and even the slightest bit, because it's so much about the hunt and the excitement of putting together, and then having that deck hit the perfect way where the puppies are going like crazy, right? Or whatever that deck you've built, having it hit perfectly is like, I can't imagine the high that hits when you did the work to put it together, and when it hits perfectly, especially if you're in a competition, it's a high I couldn't imagine, right? Because you did all the work and it came to fruition. So if you love love the grind, and I mean that in a good way, of putting it together and working it out and then seeing it come into fruition, definitely for you. Not for me.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the combos. You're dreaming of the combos. And in a board game, you kind of know, if you've played the game before, you're like, hey, it'd be really cool if I could pull this off, if I could do this. And you walk in anticipating. Whereas in a trading card game, because the world is so open in possibilities, the goal is to get 20 lore. The roadmap to getting 20 lore, vastly different. It's another reason that people love Magic as a game, is because you can win in so many different ways. You can win by milling out your opponent, getting rid of all of their cards. You can win by just destroying all of your opponents. How you hit all of your opponents could be via like pinging damage to them. It could be by creating an army of tokens that's unstoppable. In Lorcana, because we're not necessarily it's Disney, so we're not attacking players directly, right? We're challenging and banishing characters. Nobody dies. So Disney things. But there is that rush of like, how do I want to win? So I talk about that tournament that I played and saw the puppies. That weekend I played 2 tournaments, and one of the tournaments I played my deck. I played Green Steel. I discarded. I ended up winning the whole thing. It was so fun watching its sort of last hurrah in the rotation of competitive, because most of my 60 card deck, I think it was like 20 of them are legal as of Friday. The other 40 gone. They are getting rotated out. And so that was that deck's last dance. But then the next day I built a meme deck, and that meme deck had Jafar, and Jafar, whenever you draw a card, you gain a lore. So all I did was just try to get one Jafar to stick on the board. And then I sang a song called Whole New World that makes both of us draw 7 cards. And the goal was, we both draw 7 cards, I get 7 lore. And hopefully in that, I find another Whole New World and I play it again and I gain 7 more. I gained 14 lore in one turn, and most of the time that was enough to win the game. And I ended up going all the way to the finals with this meme deck because I built a purpose for that deck, and I got to see it do the thing multiple times, which is, there's a rush to that. But I totally get it and what Jason's saying. I think a con to really, this happens in board games, but it really happens in trading card games. Let's say something we talk about when we teach, like I think about viticulture, for instance, Jason. When we played viticulture, Jason and Elizabeth were telling me, they're like, we're going to kind of do the game, and then you're going to look up and you're just going to realize, oh, we're at like 25 points. When someone crosses 30, it's over. Like we're in the last round. So it's going to feel like the end is never coming, and then suddenly it reaches you.
Yeah.
But because you don't know the game, anticipating that the first time, tough, but you can kind of, it's perfect information that's out there. You can see the board, you can see the pieces, you can see all that. So you can adapt as it comes. In Lorcana, each set that comes out has 204 cards, 208 cards or something like that. We're on set 9. So if you're playing in a competitive format, that means sets 5 through 9 are legal right now. So you have to know and be prepared for 1,200 cards, because as I'm looking at my opponent's hand, I have to go, okay, he has 4 ink available. What could he play? And I have to plan around that. Unlike viticulture, where I'm like, oh, Jason has 2 workers in his hands. There are 5 open spots.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's going to go here. Right? Like that information. So for some people, I think that the con of casually playing viticulture, most board games you can casually play, and you're probably not going to win, but you can still figure it out. There are just moments that are going to happen in a trading card game if you play casually against random people that you're just going to get rocked because you have no idea that card even existed.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to be prepared to answer or build around that card? I think I think that is the biggest con. It's why I will refuse to ever play Magic competitively, because Magic's been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Bro, that is so many cards that I'm just never going to know.
Yeah. And I think I've even talked about this in the podcast, that one of the original selling points of Lorcana was like, okay, we're going to release a TCG that can be both kind of casual play and competitive play to hit it. But then it just went, and you can still do casual play. You could have it with your family and still use it as a teaching tool for your own kids to get through it and just play it to play it. Right. And you're just playing it, and you're not worried about building the deck. So even all the discussion we had in this, don't let that scare you off thinking, well, I got to get 4 of every card to be whatever. If you want to go the competitive route, yes, you're going to have to build decks. If you want to go play at your local game store and do some of that, you're going to have to intentionally build those decks. But if you just want to see these really cool cards and play some fun stuff and relive Disney memories, just go buy a starter set and play it for the fun of it and see if you like it, right? You can do both. And like Robbie said, even if it's 2 totally non-Lorcana people doing it, sometimes the cards may just come out perfectly with the set you have, sometimes they don't, but you're just playing through it to play the game, as opposed to, it's a 2-player game. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, right? So don't let that intimidate you enough to take you away from trying out Lorcana thinking I got to have 4 of each card to even have fun. Yeah, if you go competitive, you're going to need that. But if you just want to play casually, or even better yet, find somebody like Robbie who already has a lot of preset decks and play with them for a little bit. And you can still just do casual play just to go through it and have that fun.
Yeah, we have a shout out to Reed and the Swanky crew who are listeners of the podcast. When Luke came to Lynchburg and I was there for a trip as well, I had some of my pre-built beginner type decks. They aren't starter decks. They're a little more upgraded than that, but they're thematic. So one of them was all about pirates, and it's just a bunch of pirates doing their thing, right? One was magic brooms. That's all about Fantasia and the magic brooms doing their thing. So I have these themed decks, and I have all 4 of those assembled downstairs. So when I teach someone Lorcana, I'm not going and grabbing my tournament deck and saying, hey, let's play with these, because these are optimized. These are all designed. And because I've collected the cards, I mean, I mentioned it, Tiana is a $25 card right now. So if you have 4 copies of Tiana in your deck, which most of the decks running it do, instantly the price of a super competitive deck sometimes can get pretty crazy. Like I think the highest a Lorcana competitive deck has ever been was about $700 for one deck. That's insane. Like that's so much money for cardboard. What are we doing? But if you're acquiring the cards over time and you're like me and you bought your Tianas when they were $3 or $4, suddenly it's like, well, I don't really play that deck. So should I sell my Tianas right now? And use that to buy more cards? What should I do? That's the trading card game aspect of it, right? But I have those decks downstairs that I teach people with. And I think that how Lindsay and I found Lorcana is we were in San Diego. My wife was pregnant. She was at a conference. She came home. She was feeling awful. So we were just chilling in a hotel room, and there was a game shop a block away. So I walked into that game shop to go pick up like a little like baby board game that we could play in the hotel room, and they had Lorcana starter decks. I bought 2 Lorcana starter decks. We went back to the room and we kept playing it over and over again. And by the time we left, we owned 4 Lorcana starter decks because we went back the next day and bought more decks so we could play different styles. Like that's just, it's that easy. that's all it took was one afternoon. We went and bought starter decks, and we got to enjoy the game in its entirety. Do I think you can upgrade the decks for cheap? Usually, yeah. There are a lot of videos out there. I'll shameless plug here. Robbie C Gaming is my other YouTube channel outside of my disc golf channel, and I do Lorcana content on Robbie C Gaming. I talk about upgrading starter decks on there. I haven't put out videos in a little bit. Little guy definitely changed things around a little bit, but that channel is all about like helping people learn Lorcana along the way. So definitely check it out. Obviously, you can enjoy both. I'm looking at the time and seeing that we're going long on the episode. I figured this is going to be a long one.
Yeah,
a lot to cover here. But production, the cards are no better or worse, I would say, than any card that comes in any board game that you get.
Yeah, there's nothing special about that card. It's not cheap card stock, but it's, as Robbie said, it's just standard. You wouldn't say it's the best. You wouldn't say it's the worst. It's just fine. But and I put in there, and Robbie expanded on it, for Lorcana, because you're going to be handling those cards the entire game, all game long, sleeve the cards, right? If you want them to last, sleeve the cards, because you're going to be shuffling them over and over and over, and they're going to be in your hand over and over and over, right? That's the joke I have about my Catan, my Settlers game. If you pull it out, you could tell I've touched every card tons of times because they're really rough looking, because we've had them in our hands so many times. I don't sleeve any of my cards, but if I was a Lorcana person, I would sleeve them. And if I had certain games that, like, a lot of people sleeve deck building games because you tend to handle those cards so much. Well, I guess we do sleeve the crew because we were handling those cards so much. So our copy of the crew is definitely sleeved.
The crew we literally bought a second copy of the crew so that we could sleeve it, because we destroyed those cards. We destroyed the first set.
But sleeving the cards, and you can buy fun sleeves, you can buy Disney sleeves. I bought Disney sleeves for mine. They're still in the box that I just haven't sold or given away or whatnot. So I have Elsa, and then I have oh my gosh, the guy from it doesn't matter. The guy from Mulan. I can't remember his name. I have his stuff. Those are the sleeves.
It's not Mushu. It's
it's
not Li Shang.
Li Shang, maybe? Is that what I have? I don't know. It's in my anyway. So you can buy Disney Lorcana themed ones, which are fun. You can buy just solid color ones. You can just buy Plano sleeves. Like when I first got mine, I sleeved them, and they're just the clear sleeves that if you played baseball cards or had baseball cards or anything else in, sleeving is a priority. We've already talked about. We haven't really emphasized it, but
Ursula.
Yeah, very cool. The art, like Villainous, even though they're two different artists, is where it's at, right? That's where the production shines. Is the art on all the cards is just so great, because again, if you're a Disney fan, it brings you into those movies. It brings you into that scene in that movie. So fantastic.
Yeah, I'll give you a little teaser. So at the bottom of each character, there is keywords like pirate, princess, captain, things like that. But the first one is always blank born for all the glimmers. And there are 3 types of born. There are storyborn, which is storyborns are characters drawn in their original context, essentially. So Beast in the castle, that is storyborn. And then you have dreamborn, which is that character in a different context. So there is like Donald Duck flat-footed, and he is a detective. And so he's this like detective looking guy, and that's dreamborn because Donald Duck is not normally a sleuthing detective. Right. And then Floodborn is the other, which is like a bigger version of it. But so they do some really fun art, like Mushu as a pirate or Tigger as a pirate. The whole 100 Acre Woods. I built Lindsay a deck that was the 100 Acre Pirates. So all of the Winnie the Pooh characters are pirates. So we built her a deck that was nothing but those characters. Yeah. There's just a lot of fun that you can have with it. You can build puppies as a deck. So I agree with Jason. $20 for the starter set. If you're going to play with 2, you're going to end up spending $40, obviously, because if you want to play with people, you both need a deck. So another suggestion that I will give is Palace Heist, which is a cooperative experience. It comes with 2 competitive decks. I would not call them super competitive, but it definitely comes with good cards. And it's $50, I want to say. But it also comes with a villain deck, and that villain deck is the 2 decks are trying to beat Jafar as he is stealing the half Hexwell crown. And so you're trying to stop him and race him for lore, but it comes with 2 great decks as well if you are looking to dive into the game. So starter decks, a lot of them out there. You can definitely find some for cheaper. There are some starter decks that go on sale for like $6. Prices are always fluctuating. So, all right, Jason, cookie scale. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first because I don't think we're mine's not. I mean, I'll go first. What's interesting is, right, and when I thought about this today, and even as is often, sometimes I come in, I know exactly what's going to be, and sometimes it's as we go through it, and I need to hear the different points you bring up. It helps, but it's going to reflect. It's going to So my rating is going to be. I'm not doing very good because I don't want to be like for me. My rating is going to be oatmeal raisin. It was between a sugar and an oatmeal raisin because if somebody wants to play this, I'll happily play it because of the coolness of it, because of the Disney factor on it. But I bought it 2 years ago. We played it a few times, realized it just wasn't for us because I have so many others. It's so often my rating, unfortunately, unfairly, may be reflected by what I already have here with me right now, right? I'm never going to pull this out to play with me and Elizabeth or anyone else unless they really want to learn Lorcana. And then even I'm like, because I don't play it enough, I could teach it, but I may not be the greatest person to sell somebody on Lorcana. If somebody wanted to play just to play, or if you brought it and said, hey, let's play some, if you brought some of your decks and said you wanted to play, I would happily do it, but I'm never going to ask to play Lorcana. But to a lot of gamers, and especially the CCGers and TCGers, I mean, I'm a minority on that, right? It is a massive hit right now for a reason, both competitive and non-competitive, right? The competitive world is big and is catching up fast to what the Magic world is, even though Magic's been around like forever. But folks who are like to come in and realize, oh, I like this side of it. It's such a great baby TCG. It's such a great, someone to initiate you into that world. And you may want to go into the deeper stuff of Magic where there's reactions to what's going on. Or there's plenty of other actually TCGs that are out there. These are just the 2 biggest known by the most common folks, right? Or most commonly known in when people talk about the games. It's an oatmeal raisin for me. Everything you said about it, your love for it, other people's love for it, I totally acknowledge it. But for me, it just doesn't have that appeal that I want to go play it. But it is one, if you want to test out TCG World, this is the one you should try. Without doubt, hands down, try it. Unless you just dislike Disney. If you love Disney, like so many of us, it's almost like you should try it once just to see, because it may be the Disney theme, may be the thing that pulls you into the TCG world because you're doing it with these characters you know and love.
Yeah. And I'll say on the competitive side, some of the most competitive Lorcana players in the world will all tell you that they have no Disney background whatsoever. They funny enough will see a character and someone did something where they said it was like they had competitive players and they were showing pictures of cards and they were like, is this character a good character or a bad character? What do you think? Based on what they do. And Diablo was the best example. Diablo is the name of the bird for Maleficent, her little spy bird. The only reason that most people know it is because of Lorcana players know Diablo because Diablo is a threat, but it's just a little side character. And a Hiram Flaversham from Great Mouse Detective is the toy maker. It's not even Basil. It's not even the Great Mouse Detective. But if you play Lorcana, you know Hiram Flaversham. Let me tell you. So it's funny how people will talk about, they get really deep into Lorcana and they're like, oh, we finally watched this movie and now half these cards make way more sense on what they're supposed to do. For me, it's a double doozy. No doubt knew it was going to be a double doozy. I would say the biggest pro is that strategic depth. Do I want to be a mile wide and 2 feet deep, knowing that there are some potholes that can take me down into a heavy Euro or something like that? I think that approach exists for a lot of people. And for most board gamers, that is a thing. And I talked to Jason about this before. I think that what I love about Lorcana is that you can really dive deep into it. Like I do a lot of testing myself against myself. So I will play games of Lorcana against myself with these different decks, testing their weaknesses, things like that. The only podcasts that I consume in the world are disc golf podcasts and Lorcana podcasts. Like those, I consume that content heavily. So I love the deep dives of it. I love figuring out that, by switching these 5 cards out, this matchup that I really was struggling with actually becomes way easier. So how do I find those 5 cards? How do I anticipate what cards I'm going to need? Things like that. The deep strategy of it. As someone who has an addictive personality and knows that I cannot get into chess, because when I get into if I got into chess, I would never look back. It would consume every waking thought that I have. A TCG is a great dive in. And because I got in early, I feel like I've got a good grasp on it. And it's a very fun, lightweight one. My wife plays Lorcana with me. I love that aspect of it. I can get people to play because the Disney theme really works. But like what I was telling Jason as we kind of head into final thoughts is what's funny is that for a TCG, for the people that want to go really, really deep into one, the best example I can give is like when people find their game and want to play it over and over again. We think about in the disc golf world, Big Germ when it comes to Wingspan. Myself, when I play Wingspan, I like a game that has high variance and a lot of replayability, and trading card games just really scratch that itch for me. It's why, like, Jason can play Castles of Burgundy and have 20 active games of Castle of Burgundy going at the same time and just enjoy getting to do the mechanics, just enjoy getting to do the things. And that's where I say that it truly, obviously Jason and I agree on so many different like games on this, but we sit on polar opposites of this simply because what do you want to do with your free time? Where do you want to spend your free time?
Yep.
And I think that that's the best part about this. And it's why we wanted to include a TCG in the list, is because I think there are people out there that you've played a lot of board games and you're just looking for maybe a different type of depth.
Yep.
Maybe Lorcana's it for you. So that is going to wrap things up for today's episode. Jason, any final words, or we sending the people off?
No, I mean you hit the nail on the head on the summary of why it could be good for you. You can be a hardcore board gamer and love all things about hardcore board games, but also be a TCG, or those worlds do exist for people, and they do, coalesce very well because they have so much similarities to each other. So like you said, it's the things you want to spend your time doing and what gets you excited about doing those things. And hopefully this episode, I think I truly, and I know Lorcana, but I cannot overemphasize enough how well Robbie described the 6 colors, the high level what those 6 colors are, as well as some of the deeper strategy of it. He encapsulated so many things that even though I knew at the tertiary or at the high level, like even it gave me more understanding of it. So appreciate that. This was a good episode for folks to hear the TCG world, because it's just one of the TCGs, right? Maybe one day further down the road we'll do Magic, but this is a good one to hopefully give you an introduction and maybe something you want to try out or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece. Everything's getting a TCG these days. So it's fantastic. But you guys are fantastic as well. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You hope you have a great week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for episode 49.